Whoa, that's yesterday.
There you are.
That was get out of that.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a moment. I mean, I know you're going to place the order. It's interesting, isn't it? Because a decent looking reversal bar from this one would look really attractive.
Can't see you at the moment, mate. Heidi ho, everyone. We should be live and free on YouTube, although I've got the circle of death on my chart. That's really neither here nor there. Apparently, there's a bit of a lag in the system. This is Jeff, and with me is Ash. Oh, no, not again.
I can hear you, mate. You are there. You got a circle of death, have you?
I've got this stupid system where I've got yesterday's show in my ear roll.
Oh, no.
Let me... I might crash out. If I do, you should still be there.
Okay, mate. All right. If that happens, guys, we'll be back in within 5 minutes. You'll be all right.
Oh no, I look to be okay. Can you still hear me, Ash?
Yeah, still hear you fine, mate.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Gee, I must be getting close to being the IT wizard.
Fixed it.
As I was saying, g'day everyone. Welcome aboard. It's nice to have you here. Just in case we fall off the chart. G'day Daniel. G'day LT. How we doing, guys? I'm going to place a trade very, very shortly, but I think before I'm going to place two trades. Let's start with the wash up of yesterday. Was we lost 3 pips, guys, with the trail. I'll go through that in a minute. I think we're a tad unlucky, to be fair, but.
Are we placing that one in today as well, Jeff? That's to be 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do it right now. I'll just get rid of that. And that's how I manage those. By the way, those of you who aren't ATW people, the EA is the manager of these trades for me. So I don't have to sit up and watch every 15-minute bar close. Okay, so what we need here is this bar. Alternately, you could trade the range of the last 3 bars, if that were the case.
So we're looking at the bar that is forming now, effectively.
Yep. So we trade the last bar, the last hourly bar of the session prior to. I hesitate to call it Asia because Asia is really closed. And I hate to say it's closing of the UK session because that only started an hour ago. But the London session is about to get underway. So let's call it the last candle before London session. The last hourly bar before London session is the one we want to trade. And this is it here. We trade 5 pips below it for the short, and that's our stop for the long. And we trade 10 pips above it for the long, and that's our stop for the short.
Oh, I got that wrong. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Now, the alternate way to trade this is use the range of the last 3 bars. So you would trade 10 pips above the high of the last 3 bars. So that would be 10 pips above there, which is where your stop would be. That's probably a far better place today, I've got to say, from a non-breakout point of view, from a just purely logical point of view. That's where you'd like to have your stop up here somewhere. But anyway, that's not the system that we're trading. We're trading the original 1 candle system. So let's place that order, shall we? Now we're 10 pips above the high of that bar, which will be 129.97. Terrible place. Terrible place. Maybe we'll have to use a little bit of discretion on these things down the track. I don't know, but so far we haven't really witnessed that they are bad points of stop loss. So until we do, we'll just continue to do what we're doing. So that will be a buy stop at 129.97. Is that what I said? Yes, 129.97. And the stop loss will be 5 pips below this bar. If it'll give me a level, that would be good. 129.64 is the level, so we go 5 pips below that at, well, actually, let's call it 129.65. We round it up. And no, we don't. We round it down. 129. Sorry, I'll get there. 129.59 will be the stop loss. Okay, 129.59. And we look after the management with the 15-minute bars, as I said. So that's a buy stop. And there is our stop loss. Now we'll put our sell entry in, and the sell entry will be exactly that level there. New order. 1%. Pending order, sell stop. At the level 129, what did I say, 59, I think, from memory. I'll just double check that. 129.59 is correct. And the stop loss was 129.97. Okay, so the order is in the market and it's pretty clear. Entry here, stop loss here. Conversely, entry here, stop loss here. As I said, that is in a terrible, terrible place. And, you know, from a technical point of view, there's no way in the world I'd be placing a long there, and nor would I have my stop loss there. It would be up here somewhere. So, you know, maybe better today to trade the range. Hard to say. We'll obviously get a result of that. But the reason I'm not changing anything here is so I've got accurate data when we look back on this in in now 5 weeks' time, and actually tweak the strategy if necessary on that 3-month trial basis. So there we go. Just briefly through. Yes, you've got nothing pending, Ash? Nothing?
No, nothing here, mate. Nothing here just as yet.
Okay, so we got, actually, let's go back to the hourly chart. I get confused here if I don't put my line on. We got in on that bar there on the hourly chart. Terrible, terrible bar, as I said before. Sorry, we didn't get on that bar. Yes, we did. Terrible, terrible bar because we're at a support level and the bar was just too big. So a shocking bar to trade. But anyway, we trailed on the 15-minute chart and finished up that. Where was our entry? Our entry was there. And we hit our stop loss where on the 15-minute chart. It has to be where we entered the market, right? So stop loss would have moved. Why did it move? That's interesting. Oh, yeah, it moved to there. Okay, after entry. So stop loss moved to there. And that was as good as it got, I'm afraid. So we lost our 3 pips. And that equated to 0.06% on the way we traded it. If you use the high low of the candle as your stop loss, then you would have lost 0.07%. So we're not actually going to jump over a cliff on that one. And we live to fight another day, of course. So currently we're at 11.98% up on the, 7 weeks, nearly, on the way we are trading it, or 14.12% up if you're using a stop loss at the high and low of the candle, the master candle, that is. So that was yesterday, mate. Let's hope today can deliver us a nice winner.
Great stuff, mate. Great stuff. Okay, well, the FTSE is interesting. I'm looking for this market to come back a little bit. It's just popping up, but I'm looking for this market to come back.
Or do I have
yes,
to
yeah, no,
again?
I should be able to. Let me just see. Yes, you need to disappear for me, mate.
Okay, I'll be back shortly.
Let's try this. Okay, so we are looking at a FTSE 100, which is currently just dragging itself long here, but I'm actually interested in the short. Let me just share this screen here. Yeah, I'm interested in this one coming down. Now, the daily pivot may well hold it up, but maybe dipping down into this area, something like 75.33 would be a good price to try and get it at. It was a little bit flat, that you can see by the momentum here. The momentum's a little bit flat, and it's still very, very keen. There's no two ways about that. And we look at this 5-minute chart, and you kind of see really the 5-minute chart. Probably, well, it's a little bit housed, I think, in here. Just looking along this area here, it's a little bit caged in, but it could pop forward. Not looking for a big boost up in the FTSE 100, but yeah, could happen. We had decent news from Asia overnight on the trade balance, but maybe some contention over the fact that they haven't done as much trade with the United States as they would have liked. Now, looking across the board, we're just looking at...
Speaking about trade,
yes,
it looks like this thing tomorrow, and I don't know, I'm always suspicious when I hear these lead-ins, but everything coming out of the States at the moment is suggesting that this is going to go ahead without a hiccup. But not only that, they're now saying that China aren't manipulating their currency.
That's right.
What's going on?
Well, do you know what I think is interesting about this particular story is that the trade deal, is yes, likely to be signed tomorrow. It probably will be signed tomorrow. But what I find interesting about the story is we haven't really had any detail, from the actual deal, the phase one trade deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the weakness may start setting in. If we're starting to see something in the way of well, not necessarily a glitch in the balance, but just maybe a glitch in the actual what people think should be in the deal and what's actually in the deal. So it may be, and this is the thing. So it could be that the market, likes likes the fact that there is going to be a deal, which is great, but it might not like the deal. And I think that might be one thing that could ease us back a little bit. Now, I don't think we're going to break to the downside by any stretch, but as I say, I wouldn't mind easing back down here and then looking for a long, rather than trying to take it on here. I think that there's a chance that it's going to continue to pop up. Looking across the board, if we're sort of like looking at barometers, gold has been pretty well beaten up, but it's just started to kind of drift back to the upside. It's probably at a level of resistance now. Probably not quite, actually. It's not quite a breakout. So maybe gold's got a little further to go. The daily pivot looks like a glaring level that it could come back to. If I'm going to use these numbers down here as well, just to analyze a little bit of gold, then I would have thought it's broken out of the momentum trend line. So could be that gold starts to move forward again. Now, we've been discussing dollar yen. You haven't put that trade on just yet, have you?
No, I haven't, mate. No, but
no.
I'm going
so
to.
we're going to come to the dollar yen in a moment. S&P, yet again hitting some record highs yesterday. Just eased back to the daily pivot. It doesn't look like it's necessarily going to be breaking down, but again, I wouldn't mind the S&P just popping down below the daily pivot before suggesting that it's probably going to go long again. Dow Jones actually saw some weakness yesterday. This one was the most interesting, I think, yesterday. This is yesterday's price action, and if we're starting to look at potential glitches in the momentum, then really you want all ships rising at the same time. And the Dow didn't rise yesterday. The Dow was pretty well caged in, and I was looking for some further downside in the Dow, which it didn't quite come. But it is looking again a little bit weak up here, and we can see when we kind of look at the momentum, there is a bit of divergence going on. We got a high here, a higher high with a lower high here, and then a higher high with a lower high here. It's just a little bit lower, so there's some divergence going on there with the Dow. So the momentum is just it's just a bit under pressure, which is a reason why I'm not too keen on stocks up here. I think this is a really good area to start looking for the short. And it won't take a lot to promote me to try and get in short, but I would like to see it just probably break down this area here. You know, as I say, I think there's probably one more long in the tank here, maybe around about 75.40 or something. So maybe another 20 pip drop to the downside, and then maybe one more pop to the upside could happen. But after that, I think that this area is going to be well and truly under pressure. So so I'll probably try and buy if it comes down and test this level here, then I'll probably try and buy the line. If I can get this price here, then I'll probably try and buy right on the line. And then if it does start to break down, then I'll deal with that in the course of time, because I am looking for downside, but it does need to take out this zone. And it's going to be, you know, what was going to drive it down, as we've said, you know, we do have this this trade deal potentially being signed tomorrow, and that could put the all the markets under a bit of pressure. The pound is continuing to drive to the downside, and if the pound gives way here, then I would suspect the FTSE may well pop up just on the back of the pound, rather than worrying about the kind of global markets. Difficult one with a pound, you know. I mean, it's due a correction, but it is on a fairly solid level down here. So, you know, will it pop down? Yeah, well, it could do. You know, we've had some of the rhetoric coming out from the Bank of England, and there's probably enough of the bankers that are saying that interest rate cuts could well come into play, but they haven't said it will come into play. So I think you could make an argument that there might be another push just to retest some level here with the pound, but you could also make the argument that there's enough detail now to continue this pound moving to the downside and maybe even test these lows down here. So the pound's under a bit of pressure, which puts the upward pressure with the FTSE well and truly in play, but which makes it a very dangerous market in some respects, because an upward move in the FTSE off the back of some downward pressure with the pound is not going to be on solid footing because of what's you know, what I've just shown you with both the Dow here, just coming down a little bit, and the S&P also coming down a little bit. So it's not going to be on solid footing, any pop to the upside. So I'm not going to be too keen to play that if I don't have to. Now the yen is again a really interesting one, but both of us are looking for shorts in the yen. The question is where. Could wait for the end of today, see if we get some sort of shooting star, and if that's the case, then looking for the short under this level would be good. But I like your trade better, which you're going to go through. So I won't be a spoiler. I'll let you go
whatever,
through.
Mate. No big deal.
Well, it's more really for me. It's more kind of like, what is the yen telling me, or what's the dollar yen telling me? And I think the dollar yen is telling us that there could well be some bumps in the road with the market on their way. Now, it's a difficult thing to really kind of time, as I've found, because there's been many bumps in the road that haven't really ended up coming to fruition. But I think that you know, if the yen starts to strengthen, if we start to see the S&P and the Dow weaken a little bit, the pound needs to hold. Gold probably could do with popping to the upside. Then the FTSE 100 is going to start looking like a much better prospect for some downside. But for right now, it's holding its own, and as I say, with the pound weakness, the FTSE may well. The pound really is getting weak, isn't it? I don't know if you've been entered into that trade.
Let me have a look. See. Oh, very close, and just getting in there now, I think. Yep, just tipped in now, I think.
Yeah, those GDP numbers weren't particularly good.
It's still a terrible place to go short, in my opinion. But anyway.
But look at this. I mean, look at what's happened with the dollar yen this morning. You know, it really is kind of expressing that there's a lack of harmony out there in the world. Certainly right now, early doors, and that would definitely you know, be much more indicative of a market which is coming down. So yeah, I'm looking for drops in the FTSE really this morning. That's where I'm at so far, mate. Got to take out the daily pivot. That's the key really. If it's going to come down, it's got to take out this daily pivot. But it's just testing it again now. Let's see if it can get through.
All right. Well, let's place this dollar yen trade then. You've got plenty of time to do it, guys, if you want to follow it. It's based on. Let me see if I can do it. Oh, you've got to stop sharing, mate, I think.
Okay, thanks.
And there we go. All right, should now have my dollar yen screen on the daily chart. And this is based absolutely on a false breakout. And the theory behind this is if we break out of a range, then one of two things is going to happen. It's either a break or it's not a break. Now, if it is a break, this should continue on and just go up to a resistance level somewhere. You know, it could be here, could be there, who knows. But this is well, what if it's not a breakout? What if it's a false breakout? And if it's a false breakout, then we're going to see lower levels. Now, those lower levels should start here. I used to trade false breakouts with a 5 candle setup, and now I'm trading with a 1 candle setup. And this is one of those obvious points where, pardon me, as I said, if it is a breakout, we shouldn't be taken into the trade. But if it's not a breakout and becomes false, then we should be taken into the trade. Where we put our stop is probably not that relevant, because if the counter argument is right and it is a false break, it should go deep into here, maybe retrace back to the top of the range, but that should be about all. If we're wrong, then it'll go back to here anyway. But I can't see this being a deep retracement and then go on one bar, because the buyers, if they're serious, they should be jumping on board here. They should be going, oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. And as I say, if it's not the case, here's where they're wrong. So let's place that order. We will put our stop at the top of the bar. There's an argument to put it up here. But like I said, if we're wrong here, we're going to be wrong here as well, because it'll just keep going. So, pardon me, let me place that order. And again, you can, well, no, we'll probably trade this at half a percent. 0.5. It will be a sell stop, and it will be at the break of that bar. So the level I've got is 109.49. This may take a while to trigger, if it's going to trigger too. But if this continues to go high, then take the trade-off. 109.49, stop loss, we'll make it the top of the bar. 109.94, we'll add a couple of pips to that. 109.96. There we go. And away we shall go. Now, in terms of take profit, there's a clear take profit level here. It's the weekly pivot. And you'd want to, well, you could take half off there if you wanted, or you could take, I would advise taking half off there, because you're pretty much halfway to where I don't want to be really in the trade too much longer. So I'd be taking half off there, make yourself safe in the market at that point, and hope for a little bit of a bonus. That would be my counsel on that one.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, mate? Because when it comes down to it, you know, and it's all going to depend on what's going to drive it down. You know, because the market has been so hot and running so hot, it's probably due a correction of some sort. You know, I don't know whether it's going to, you know, specifically change direction. You know, nobody can really know that, but we could well get a correction. And if we get a correction in the market, then there's every chance that the likes of gold and the yen start to strengthen a little bit as well. I think there's some people. Sure. I think they're called for and you know, and the fact that we've hit the 110 number as well, it's a kind of psychological number that people will be looking at to sell this this dollar yen. So I wonder whether that could add some pressure onto it.
Yeah, look, could absolutely do that. But I'm not playing this from a fundamental point of view. I'm playing this from a pure, and
yes,
just a full
of course.
trade. That's all it is. So
yeah,
it's fairly binary. It's either going to be right or wrong. You know, I don't think we're going to hang around here too long. We'll either go straight back here or we'll go to here.
You don't know all this fundamental mumbo jumbo going on, do you?
Look, I think your case is definitely making me feel a little bit better about the trade.
Yeah.
I've got no question with that. But, to me, it's just a clear, as this one here was, this is exactly the same thing. It broke to the short side. Problem is your entry is at the top of the range, so you couldn't take it. But, maybe if that's the weekly chart I'm looking at, by the way, so you wouldn't be taking that. But you could certainly have taken that one there, and you would have got the money. So, false break to the downside. And the market is riddled with these false breaks, absolutely riddled with them. But the key is got to be a decisive bar that breaks the range. That's the key. If it fiddles and farts about and just ambles up here with 2 or 3 bars, forget it. But this is a clear breakout, or it's not. And that's the difference. When it's clear, it's binary. When it's not clear, anything could happen, in my opinion. So that's exactly why I'm taking that position. Mate, I've got a few more to look at. Should we go around the grounds?
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's going to be important to get a feel of the market today. The FTSE 100 is just pushed under that daily pivot as well. So
okay,
pretty good.
Well, let's look at the crying material. This one's kind of making me cry when I look at it because I managed it so poorly. But if you and there's some chance that you guys in the show are still in this because you wouldn't have followed my management of this. If you are, happy days. I can't see any reason why you would now be thinking anything but, okay, I'm going to find my bookie, because I think this has got a very strong chance of going down to here, which is where our second take profit was. So if you are still in this, best of British to you. I think it's now in a very, very strong position to get some good money out of it. If you're not like me and got out of it in profit, of course, but gee whiz, I've left something on the table here. There's no question about that. We've got now another lower high by the look of it. Interesting. If we were to come back here and put in another lower high, I might get interested in getting back into that. But for now, there's nothing. Now the Aussie. This is worrisome, what I'm seeing on this chart, because I've got a long in place on Aussie CAD, and I've got a funny feeling that that's going to be in a bit of bother at the moment. But I do like this bar sitting here. That's the 30-minute chart. I like it better on the hourly, I think. I'll explain it to you in just a tick. No, I don't. Yeah, it might be all right. It depends on where it closes. And I'm looking at a long here. The problem I've got, and I want to ask you this question, Ash. The problem I've got with the Aussie at the moment is the country's on fire and has been for 6 weeks or 2 months, seriously. Yeah. And that's not a small thing. You know, there's most of the country has experienced bushfires, and certainly in areas where they could ill afford to have them. And what I'm talking about is, you know, we've been in drought for the longest time. Production of food, crops, stock are dying left, right, and centre, and those that are still alive are being shot by their farmers. You know, we're run out of water. It's just a very, very bad situation. Now that will come to an end at some stage. When is debatable, but it will come to an end at some stage. And when it does, there's going to be a rebuilding process underway. My question is, what does it mean short term to the Aussie dollar? Does it mean that the economy is going to struggle so much because we haven't got anything to export in terms of food? And in terms of wool, in terms of beef, you know, all those sorts of things are going to suffer. That means that there won't be as much demand for the Aussie dollar, because the people who import or take our exports won't be buying them because they won't be available. And therefore, that's going to have downward pressure on the dollar. The only thing that could save that situation would be the price of things like precious metals, of which we have in abundance, like iron ore, gold, copper, all those sorts of things. If they remain buoyant, then it probably could save the Aussie from what some would believe is going to be a fairly substantial collapse. And that's my question to you. How do you read that? What do you think? I guess in medium term situation.
Do you know, the way that I'm looking at the Aussie dollar right now is because it is such a heavily weighted commodity-based market and a heavily weighted commodity-based currency. I'm kind of wondering whether, if the situation globally continues, whether it can continue to export the kind of commodities that it's so far enjoyed, because the issue I think with the Aussie is that it's so carbon heavy, and we are not in that particular phase. The world needs carbon heavy economies less than ever, like a bullet in the head. It really,
Yep.
It could really do without them. So I'm wondering whether that could actually be a significant aspect here, more than anything else. I mean, you're talking about I think things that are directly related to the specific incidents that we've had going on. And even though this is directly related, it's probably much more of a worldwide issue. It's not so directly related to the Australian economy specifically. But if the worldwide, you only have to look to oil to kind of get the same view, really, with that. The way that the oil is going, and the way that the carbon economy is going, then you have to wonder, how can oil survive that? How's oil going to get through if that's the situation we find ourselves in? So
look,
I think
long term, not good prospects.
Not at all.
It takes a long time for those sort of things to turn around, of course. So
yes, it does. And I suppose it's going to depend on not to want to have to sidestep the question a little bit. I think it's going to come down to policy. What's going to be their fiscal policy and their policy when it comes down to how do they rebuild? How are they going to look to rebuild their economy? And it's going to be the methods that Scott Morrison uses, I guess, or whoever it is in charge of the country. It's a PM, isn't it? Yeah, because the Queen's the Queen Elizabeth. So it depends on what methods he uses, I suppose, to whether they do get a boost. But yeah, I agree with you. I suppose the only thing is, if there is a lack of something, but the demand stays high, then you would think that would probably help the numbers rather than hinder them.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because if you're in a situation where your surplus is exported, then there won't be a surplus to export. But if the main product is exported and the surplus is used domestically, then I don't want to speculate on it, to be fair, because I think it could easily go either way. The economy should tick along really, really well once the rebuilding starts, because there'll be that much money spent. It won't be funny. But that's not going to transfer to the Aussie dollar, I don't believe, because it's all going to be domestic. So yeah. It could be really interesting, but I don't like what I'm seeing on that chart at the moment, I've got to say, because that's not going to be helping the trade that I am in. Anyway, that remains a very, very tough call, in my humble opinion. But if you're of the opinion that this is putting in higher highs and higher lows, then this is a bit of a bull flag that's forming on that, but it's the flag's bigger than the trend, so I'm not going to call that. But the other thing I am going to say is that we have had a substantial base, and this is now still a higher low.
Yes.
So
well, we can't discard either the fact that this. I mean, look at that yen right now. The dollar yen, that really is putting in a significant reversal on the 4-hour chart. Yeah, I mean, if if the bar was to close right here and now, then we're basically looking at a I can't even think of the term now.
Shooting star.
No, the shooting star's in the middle. Why me? Come on, my mind's gone a blank.
I'm looking at the daily chart still. Hang on, I'll go to. Oh, if I can undock this thing, gives me the willies. Okay. Isn't that a shooting star or evening star? Evening star.
Evening star. Yeah. Evening star. So we're looking at an evening star pattern forming on that one, and you know, geez, that really is starting to look like there's some weakness out there, isn't it? When we're kind of looking at when we're looking at the dollar, you know, the pound has popped to the downside, and it may well continue. It's just managing to kind of like pop back inside its range now. But looking right across the board, you've got dollar yen starting to weaken. You've got gold strengthening. The pound has hit that lower line and it's starting to strengthen a little bit again. Euro dollar not so good, but actually, if you know, again on a 4-hour chart, it has made a higher high. So that cutting back could start to make a higher low. Dollar CAD is boosting to the upside. Maybe that's got more to do with oil than anything else. Actually, the Kiwi dollar is looking a bit weak, so maybe that argument isn't going to hold. But you know, effectively, if we are looking at a situation where the dollar, where the other currencies are going to start coming into play, maybe it's going to be a dollar story as much as anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting day though so far. We've got FTSE 100 bouncing to the downside, but bouncing back up again. So now looking for opportunities to sell this market off. Maybe at the daily pivot, we'll have to see what happens there. But the S&P also kind of weak today, and we are looking for a topping pattern in the markets. And the FTSE has shown a head and shoulders, but it's got a little bit long in the tooth. But there is a bit of a topping pattern going on with that. Dow Jones also managed to creep down below its trend line. So we'll see where that ends up in the next half an hour. But if that holds below a trend line and below price, then that's going to suggest some weakness globally. As I say, gold popping up and holding its price could suggest some weakness globally, and we're just looking at the dollar yen as well. So certainly early doors this morning. There's a little bit of risk off sentiment in the market, and maybe that actually doesn't play too much into the Aussie. You know, I'm guessing, yeah, we are actually seeing some Aussie weakness. I wonder what the Aussie yen would look like in this particular scenario.
Aussie yen, I should have one of them somewhere. There we go. Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, that gets under that daily pivot. I mean, it's hitting that trend line, isn't it? And and popping down from it. So I wonder whether that may well provide an opportunity for some shorts. But there's a bit of a yen play going on, that's for sure.
Kind of a right shoulder, tweezer top. Yeah, interesting. All very interesting. Is there something to trade is the question. And here is my first potential. And we've got 27 minutes to go on this, the 30-minute chart. And it is euro dollar. And what I want to see here is price get back above this trend line. Either one, doesn't matter. But let's just to declutter it. Let's be looking at playing a false break of this trend line, shall we? So all we need now is price to find its way back up to here, maybe here. That'd be a good spot. Didn't grab that line. We can.
Do you know what I'm finding a little confusing, mate? I don't know what the market doesn't like today.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know whether
it's looking a little bit like it likes the dollar, but I'm not 100% myself, except on dollar yen basis. But
$7 yen, and
that's been the case for a while, you know.
Is it that trade balance from China? I mean, really good trade balance from China, but actually shrinking demand from America, and is that putting some pressure? You know, Donald Trump's come out and said that they're not now a currency manipulator. We've got trade balance looking pretty healthy. What is going on here?
Maybe it's just a bit of speculation that, you know, it looks to be wanting to pull back what it's already given, I suppose, at the moment, but we'll see. If it's serious, then I think we're in for dollar strength day, but we'll see. Yeah, we've really got to get this back to here at least. And I don't like trading 7 pip candles at all. Yuck. And it's only going to give us 3 pips. No, that won't be a trade for me. That won't be a trade. We'll hang about and see if there's something better. But those candles, I don't like those candles at all. Pound, not liking what I see on the pound. Again, you know, a tough trade to take, but there you go. We're trading the system, not anything else. So we'll stick with that. If I'm looking to trade it from a technical point of view, then I'm probably thinking long here, to be fair. But I can't find.
You'd
a
want
way
to see a
in
reversal bar, wouldn't you? On the hourly, you'd want to see that bar being a reversal bar. It's testing that lower trend line again. So if it gets through, then it could be kind of good night with a pound. But you definitely want to see what are your charts look different to mine?
I'm only on 30-minute charts.
Oh, you're on 30. Okay, great,
Yep,
great, yep. Yeah. The hourly is the hourly. I think is interesting with this one because if that hourly puts in a reversal bar, now I've got my trend line a bit lower than yours, so I've actually got it.
That isn't an up-to-date trend line. Let me fix it. Actually, I wouldn't have an hourly trend line coming through here. That has to be a bigger time frame for me. And the reason is I like recency. I don't like to see, let me use that as the 4-hour and the daily. I don't like to see massive gaps on my smaller time frames. So that doesn't belong there. So I actually don't have a support trade line here on an hourly basis because this has gone now 2.5 weeks without a test. So if we start
what
here,
about on a daily? Because that's where I've drawn mine from. I've got a
daily no problem.
Yeah, and that gives me the price that we currently sit at. Effectively, I've got it starting from the 8th of October, sorry, the 8th of November, and then if you extrapolate, you know, and just do it from the 12th, sorry, the 23rd of December, then it's a pretty nice clean
like
trend line right away. Yeah, even a little bit lower probably, but yeah, somewhere around there, somewhere right on the lows.
It's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Pretty damn close. So yes, if it breaks, absolutely. And I said this yesterday, you know, for the pound, if this level, the horizontal level, breaks in concert with this trade line or trend line, whatever you want to call it, this is in a bit of bother because that's a strong level. We really are at a strong level here. And this could go a long, long way. Absolutely could. Maybe the next stop for the pound is in this vicinity. Oh, it's got to get through here first, of course.
Yeah.
But there's some obvious levels.
Yeah, there are.
Definitely some obvious levels for the pound to go to without question. Gee, it'd be nice if we could trail a 15-minute candle down to here. That's highly unlikely, but, you know, funnier things have happened, of course. So EuroCAD, again, has come off the bottom, gave us this higher low yesterday, but untradeable. I can't enter the market long here. Not possible for me. So that's going to have to go without me. Should it break this trade line and retest it, I may get interested. Or if we got a pretty substantial pullback to the daily pivot, I may be interested in trading a breakout. But I'd rather see it break and retest here. Then we can look to trade up to the monthly pivot for our first take profit level. Aussie CAD, I'm in a trade, Aussie CAD, which has just been triggered by the hair of your chinny chin chin. You got to hate that. That's kind of one of the worst positions that you can possibly find yourself. It's on a 4-hour basis. And what were we trading here? We were trading daily chart, maybe. Oh, no, got it. We're trading the higher low, which was this one here. And we've since put in another higher low based on these lows, of course. I'm okay with the the position. It's always very, very difficult to get into the market at these, what I'll call a resistance level. It's soft resistance. It's not hard resistance. So I'm okay with it, but it doesn't look that great with this current candle. But if we can hang on here, then I think the momentum will come back into this. I like you, Ash, I've got no idea what's going on at the moment, why this is, why the market's doing what it's doing. But yeah, look, and again, tough to trade the Aussie long, and I've said that yesterday, I've said it all along, but I thought this was a reasonable break and retest of this level here. I thought that was fairly reasonable. It gave me a higher low on the re-entry back into the range. So yeah, I'm going to take that most times. It's not traveling too well at the moment. I have taken that only at 0.25%, so it won't be the end of the world, I guess, if it doesn't pay dividends, but we'll see. Euro Aussie, look, these are all the same. They're just coming off bases and they're putting in higher lows and higher lows. Again, similar to what I just described on EuroCAD, the candle's too big to trade and it's at a bad spot. So it will have to go without me. Again, we've got a trade line coming through here. You could use either one of those highs, but I'll use that one. Take this out, take the highs out, come back and retest. That gives us the opportunity to trade it long if we so desire. Euro yen, well, that looks very much like a false break of the top of that range, does it not? And was this not the same trade that we took on dollar yen? Let me get rid of my little control box here and sharpen that up. No, it wasn't, because we hadn't broken the top of this range. Was it tradable on the 4-hour chart? Yes. So you could have traded that bar. You wouldn't be in the trade yet, right? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Questionable because it's not as decisive as you would like. You want these to close on their highs, these breakout candles. That's what you really want. So, and that's probably why I didn't choose to trade that this morning. And now I've opted for dollar yen instead. So yeah, the indecisive nature of that bar makes it a little bit tougher. Nice tweezer top forming though on that level, I'd have to say. I think that's just about it. Pound yen was another coming off the top of the range, didn't quite make it, but again putting in that lower high. Again, too tough to trade because you're trading straight into the weekly pivot, which is already rejected price. So whilst they're doing pretty much as you expect them to do, they're pretty tough to get into the market on. So tough to trade. And that's a little bit frustrating, but you just wait. And sometimes you have to wait till Friday. Like I always say, Friday, filthy Friday. I'm going to have to start trading on Friday. Yes, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, do you know, I actually Friday's one of my favorite days to trade. Monday, and strangely, actually, if Friday's a good day for volatility, Monday tends to be good too. You know, that's what I find. If Friday's a real dead day, then Monday's also dead. And I think it's one of those. You can almost start to get a feel of because you don't like. Oh no, you do trade on a Monday, don't you? Yeah. So it's just a Friday, but you can almost get a feel of you know which is the best. Is that no? That pound hasn't popped up yet as it's holding its ground right now. The pound.
Yeah, not sure what it wants to do, is it?
No, it's going to. Well, as I say, I think the next 15 minutes in both the pound dollar, the dollar yen, and the Dow, the S&P, gold, and the FTSE are going to be pretty fascinating. Gold is continuing to grind up. 1548 is going to be the level that I think it's going to struggle a little bit. So we'll see what happens at that. Oh, sure, yeah. Let's have a look at this. So you need to stop, and I need to start.
Have I got to stop again and disappear? I'll disappear and come back.
All right, buddy. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at the Dow Jones. Oh, even better than that.
It's only the first time, apparently.
The Dow Jones is a really interesting chart right now. We got this this reversal pattern. As I say, yesterday was fascinating because the S&P, both the S&P and Nasdaq were making higher highs, and yet the Dow was holding pretty firm. And it's just under this little trend line here. So if it remains under that point, then I think the pressure is going to be on this market, and it might be down to the weekly pivot. But then you're looking for bounces up to change direction, certainly on an hour basis. So it's going to have a little bit of a battle here for the next 15 minutes. So that's key. We have got the FTSE 100 in a similar position. You know, we got a longer term trend line here, and it's just having a little bit of a battle around this particular level as well. So both of those two markets are suggesting some downside. Now, if we consider that the S&P made fresh highs and the Dow didn't, creating a bit of a glitch, this is not creating a glitch if we see the both the Dow, the FTSE, and the S&P all creeping lower. Now, the S&P's trend line is already had its bounce, so we're going to see whether there's a lower one there, but there is another one here as well, which we're just currently bouncing up from. So the S&P probably should get back the daily pivot to remain buoyant. So that's putting a bit of pressure under that on that particular market. Then we have the dollar yen, fascinating one really, because the dollar yen has probably managed to break through a level. No, that's the same. So the dollar yen needs to break through that level to suggest some further downside. The pound is holding firm right now and potentially creating something of a reversal bar, and we'll have to see whether that does end up also holding. So if I'm going to tighten this line right up down there, then that is the situation with the pound. It's got to get through the daily pivot to change trend, but at very worst right now, it looks like it may well at least hold. So we're looking at that with another 13 minutes to go, and that's when the things start to really change. Let's have a quick look at the VIX as well. VIX has popped up, so it's a bit of an increase in volatility as well. So, you know, everything at this particular stage is pointing to a market which may well want to reverse. And when I say a market, I'm talking about the S&P, probably most specifically, but the S&P and the Dow most specifically. But those American markets are going to drive everything else. And we need to be watching out for all these different aspects to see whether the trend to the downside is likely to continue, or whether it actually just holds here and it gets swept up again and goes in the opposite direction. So we are looking at a market which is under pressure. So looking for the shorts is definitely the way to go. In my opinion. Now it's just a question of where those shorts happen. You know, does it break trend lines? You know, does it get does the FTSE manage to hold under this trend line in the next 13 minutes? If it does, then we're looking for downside from here. If it just manages to kind of stay just above, there will be a suggestion that it's going to pop back up to the daily pivot and create a bit of a squeeze, and that's really what we've been after, because a squeeze at least gives us an idea of a potential breakout at some point. So the market, as I say, is under a bit of pressure today. I don't know why, which is why my suspicion is we probably will end up holding rather than moving down. But we've got 12 minutes to wait before that's to happen, mate, and all of those markets are attempting to stay within a safe zone. FTSE 100 is on its safe zone. The Dow Jones Industrial is just below its safe zone. The S&P is just above its safe zone as well. That's this particular line here. And as I say, with gold popping up, really gold is also, you know, when it comes down to the sentiment of the market, really near a safe zone, because if that pops above that point, then it's probably gone. But I suspect we'll probably get a squeeze more than anything else. I'm not sure we'll get a breakout. And the only reason I'm saying that is that I just don't know why. I don't know why the market is doing what it's doing. So my suspicion is we probably will settle down just for a little while.
Mate, it certainly to me looks as though we have early days, as you say, entered an early risk-off situation. That's looking likely to me. But as you could say, settle down is good. if you're
Yeah, I
not
mean,
in
do you know
if
what,
you're not
mate?
in the right position at the moment.
It could be an earnings story as well. There might be an earnings story going on with the market, because we do have some of the big banks reporting today. And there may well be a bit of a suspicion that those banks' numbers aren't going to be quite as good as people hope. And well, not even that they hope. I think that the genuine consensus is that they may well come out a little bit on the weak side. And that's going to kick us off with earnings season. So, ultimately we are trading the stock market. So it's all about stocks. So if the stocks don't start to pick up, then if the stocks are starting to show signs of weakness, and we've already seen that the consumers under somewhat, something of some pressure with those average earnings numbers. So with the consumer under a bit of pressure, and maybe stocks starting to show some signs of fragility, then who knows, that may well bring us further to the downside. There's always been this kind of hint in the market that the China and American deal is already being priced in. Has already been priced in, so that for a guy turning up tomorrow and signing a deal, I don't think it's going to be a huge headline. But I do think that the devil's in the detail, and if the detail doesn't really cheer the market up too much, then I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this market come down. Because the thing is, in the end, that trade deal appeared to be, after all the kind of toing and froing and all the kind of all the negative rhetoric, it appeared to be done fairly quickly and fairly easily. Now, is that because they haven't really done much of a deal with much with too much meat on the bones, or is it just that they just got worn out by all the toing and froing and all the rhetoric? I just don't know, and I think that may well be the focus that we should probably be putting our mind's eye to now, because as I say, it might just be that they sort of they've come out and they've said, oh, we'll do a little bit more in soy, and we'll buy a few pork bellies from you guys, but the real meaty stuff has got to be left for a little while. So
Yeah,
I
the
wonder whether
tariffs
that's
remain on XYZ and blah blah blah. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a tough one. It really is a tough one, and I guess we'll know a little bit more tomorrow. But it's hard to say, as you've just said. Now I think about that just a little bit more. It's hard to think that the signing of this document is going to excite the market.
Yeah.
It is hard to think that. So, I guess the risk therefore is to the downside.
I think so, and you know what else I find quite fascinating about the market is that this week is specifically heavy on news and data. We've got the signing of that deal, and then the release of the deal. We have got the earnings reports starting to come out from some of the bigger banks. We've also got Christine Lagarde towards the end of the week as well. So it is pretty heavy when it comes down to some of the specifics. We've had the Chinese trade balance, so that's kind of now out the way. But you have to question whether a few of these things, just putting the fear in the market a little bit, could actually be a bit of the turnaround, because it's been so hot that people are just expecting good news to continue. And it may only take one of those specific things to kind of dampen some of the sentiment and some of the mood, just to see a bit of a significant, bit more of a significant retracement, which we just haven't seen as yet. When I kind of look at these charts, I can't help thinking that we're in a very, very dangerous position up here. The FTSE 100 on the weekly chart, it hasn't really tested its breakout. It's not really come down to this point. You could argue this bar did it, but that was off the Iranian situation. It wasn't off anything kind of fundamentally to do with an economy. So I wonder whether that does need to kind of cut back a little bit. S&P's the same. Even when I draw the most bullish kind of levels on the S&P and I kick up here, then again, yes, we may well have kind of tested this level, but it still could cut back into here, and that in itself would be looks like even that is only sort of 5 or 6% drop, and a 5% or 6% drop is still incredibly bullish. So I don't have a reason why that at least would not happen. For us to get some sort of 5 or 6% drop in the S&P, and I'm kind of looking at all these things and thinking, well, in actual fact, that week would be that could be quite interesting. A kind of like little timeline thing that looks like March.
Looks okay,
So
doesn't it?
yeah, it does. A grind back down into this level, kind of like by the start of March, by the beginning of March, may well see the buyers come back into play if that was to happen, and we do get some sort of time correlation with price. But I've been saying that the market is a bit toppy for a while, and evidently I've been wrong, and I've been wrong, and I've been wrong. I suppose eventually you're going to be right, because but it's just because it's got to cut back. Yeah, I mean, you just don't get, huge parabolic move and eventually a decent dip. Another pretty decent move and then a decent dip. And when I say a decent dip, I'm talking at least 5%. I mean, this was a 10% dip. This one is probably a 6 or 7% dip. So coming back into this area would not be the worst thing in the world for the market. And I just think it needs to do that. It needs to take a breather. But I just don't know what's going to. I just don't know what's going to trigger it. But as I say, there's probably enough news and data this week for one of them to be the potential catalyst. It won't be the necessary catalyst, but it could be the potential catalyst for some downside.
Yeah, well, we haven't heard much out of Iran, I guess, in the last few days. That seems to have settled. I won't say being resolved. I'll say it's settled. The plane thing remains a question mark over that one. We'll get that signature done tomorrow. As you say, the detail will be very, very interesting, and the market may well react to that if it is lame, let's put it that way. Apart from that, that's probably tomorrow. I think that's probably what we're going to see tomorrow, the market. So we might get a far better idea tomorrow as to what direction we need to take, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. Well, Dow Jones is managing to creep its way back into the safe zone, as has the FTSE quite significantly with 3 minutes left, and this is really key for everybody to watch. Watch those levels and see what happens. The S&P currently, let's have a quick look just across around the grounds, just for the one final time. We have got an S&P which is just above its daily pivot here. Just above the daily pivot, so that's in a nice safe area. We've got gold not yet a breakout point, and I don't see why it would. We've got the Dow Jones just about back inside its safe area here as well. So the market has managed to hold on. Pound continues to show some signs of weakness, and the FTSE 100 has popped right the way back up again. So it looks like a pretty good bar at this particular stage with 2 minutes left of the hour, and not only 2 minutes left to the top of the hour, but also 2 minutes left of a 4-hour bar, which is also at this stage looking like a fairly decent hold. But there is some weakness up here. We only have to see the evidence here and here and what we've had so far this morning. So there's a tiny bit of weakness going on up here, but it's just whether we yet have the catalyst. And at this stage, it's suggesting that maybe we don't, but we do need to be very, very careful if we are looking for anything that is going to continue this trend to the upside. And this market is looking like it is starting to feel the pressure just a little bit more.
Yeah, look, I've got nothing really to add, mate. There's a few things hitting resistance at the moment that might be interesting if they pull back off them. The Aussie is one of them. But like I said, it's a bit tough to be thinking along the Aussie. But if you are inclined, I'll share the screen. If I can, you might have to stop, mate.
No problem. No problem. I might well take a trade on the FTSE.
Yeah, we'll stay there, mate, if you want to take it.
Yeah, I'm just going to check this out.
Will come to me and then I'll come back if need.
Okay, I'm just going to check this out.
Do you want me to take it?
No, I would just I will bring it to the guys if I'm going to get in here. Now, what I want to see. Just want to see what's going on with Ooh, that's a bit tricky. The FTSE is just because it's at a it's right on the line of the daily pivot here. I mean, there's no doubt that that is a potential trade, and actually this 4-hour bar is just under the daily pivot, and it is a trading area. 15 up, 23 down. I quite like it. I don't love that Dow. Let me just check some of the other things here. No, I don't think there's enough information just yet, mate. I'm just looking at the dollar yen as well. Yeah, you see, it's managed to sneak in. So I don't have enough information to at this stage trade short, but I am looking for the shorts in the market. But I think it might need to develop just a little bit more. There's some fairly nice indications on the indicators here. If we look at the FTSE 100 on the 15-minute chart, when we look at the RSI is suggesting some downside. You know, we're kind of right back to the trend line, and I really like it when the trend line meets the 50% line. It is obviously a lower low. Does this create the lower high? There's going to be some weakness in this area. I quite like it. I quite like it. I quite like the levels here. It's just the fact that the markets have had the opportunity to hold. Do you know what I might wait for, mate? Just to wait 15 minutes and see if it pops up a little bit and then gives me some sort of reversal bar off the back of this daily pivot, and then we can take the trade just below the bar. So I'm going to wait for that. So nothing as yet, but I do quite like the downside here.
Awesome, mate. The only one I would say has set up is the Aussie, but it also looks as though it wants to go short. So if I'll share the screen and show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, this is pretty much a cause and effect thing. So what we're seeing really is the break to the downside of that range that we've been in on Aussie dollar. That turned out to be false, but only to a point, only to the daily pivot. But the interesting one for me is that if the daily pivot is holding as resistance as it is, it's held 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times on an hourly chart. If that were to change, then you would expect there to be a big acceleration through here. And I'm willing to put an entry long above this bar here. Taking profit is going to be the tricky part, because by the time you get in the market, your DR1 is about 6 pips away. The high, yeah, you'd probably want to be taking profit before the high, so 69.18 somewhere if you wanted to take this trade. Like I said, it's for all intents and purposes not going to be triggered because the market looks to be very much tilted towards a strong dollar today, and therefore Aussie dollar should fall. But if it doesn't, and this higher low based on this base here is accurate, then this will accelerate through here because it's failed many times already today to break through the daily pivot. And if it does, it'll go. It will go. I don't know what would actually cause that, but it's irrelevant what will cause it. I'm actually going to place that trade. And it will be a buy. Again, only half, because I don't believe there's a strong case for this, but it is a cause and effect thing for mine. The pending order is a buy stop, and the level we want to buy at is 0.6910. here. And the stop loss will be underneath there at 68.89. 68.89, pretty much where price is currently. And that is all. Now, if you are following this trade, or you want to take this trade, please take profit here. You've got to take profit here and close a percentage of the position. In my humble opinion, if it gets here, it will accelerate to here, probably pull back and then go again. But as I said, the indicators at the moment are all pointing in this direction. So that is me, mates.
Right.
We'll call it quits there, I think, for the day.
Sounds good.
How's our pound doing? Yeah, just where is it? Just above entry at the moment. So nothing to get excited about. The only thing that I guess is positive in a way here, pardon me, is that our risk will be reduced dramatically if this candle closes as a bear candle, because our stop loss will move to here. That won't make us any money, but it will stop us from losing some, and that's key to this particular system. So that is me, mate.
Great stuff. All done, mate. All done. Yeah, wrapping it up.
All right, happy days. It is dinner time here, so I'll go and enjoy my dinner, and I'll be back on air. I think it's at 10:45 Australian, makes it 7:45 Singapore, Hong Kong, with the Slingshot Trader Talk radio show. And we'll catch you tomorrow, mate.
Yep, same trade time, same trade channel, 5 to 8. We'll see you in the morning.
5 to 8. There's the date. Don't be late, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, guys. See you, Jeff.
See you, mate.